Good morning, everyone. Okay, here's my Facebook video live demonstration thingy. I'm just gonna see if I can pull this up so I can see if you have any questions. I already started the portrait of Dr. Hill this morning. I got up at 5 o'clock in a panic because hang on, let me get that off. Great, now I can see your questions. Got up in a panic at 5 o'clock this morning because I felt like I should have done her yesterday and I had family stuff going on and I couldn't get her done. And so I woke up early and I've already started her. She's about halfway there. So I'm gonna turn the camera around now so you can see what I'm working on. And if you have any questions while I'm painting, please feel free to ask. I've got my comment section up on my computer and Frida, say hi. Well, there's Frida right back there, but I don't think she's tired this morning. Okay, so here we go. Give me a second while I just rotate this around. Hang on. And make sure that you can see her. I think I might have to switch her that way. And there, I gotta bring her up a little bit. You can see her there. I feel like my little, sorry, as I try and get this. The reason I'm doing it horizontal, I know that people like it better the other way, is because it looks better on YouTube if I do it this way. So I'm just gonna finish adjusting. And yeah, not as good as it's gonna get. Okay. So, so I started this morning because I was like good morning everybody. I was all stressed about not getting this done yesterday. One of the things that's like so important to why actually my shears have been successful is that I've been able to paint within the news cycle, so to say. And I gotta pull this out so I can see what I'm doing. Got a couple reference photos for her here. Like this one. She has a very severe look, which I like, but I also think that she's just so smart. I don't want her to come across as someone who's not, I think she's just got a very strong moral compass. I hope that I can convey that in her painting. Hi, Ryan. Well, yeah, I kind of like the way, I wish sometimes that I could just go the halfway part and not go all the way finished. I like my starts, but I also like my finished pieces. So it's always sort of a struggle for me how much to do and how much not to do. So when I usually do the stuff, I don't know if everybody's seen me do other work before, but I usually do a very light wash as my starting point, just to get color everywhere, so that I kind of just make sure everything is, I start off with a quick sketch. You can see a mark right there of my quick sketch, and then from the quick sketch I do a really quick wash of color to kind of get the masses of color in, if that makes sense to you. So I want to try and just kind of block in the colors. And that's sort of what the first level is, and that's what you're seeing here. And then after that, I try and add some depth with my final layer. So these are oil paints, in case you haven't seen this before. I'm an oil painter. And as I said, feel free to ask questions, otherwise I'll just blabber on. I didn't actually see the testimony yesterday because as I said, I had family stuff going on, which was frustrating to me because I started getting all of these messages around midday. Oh my God, are you doing Fiona? Are you doing Fiona? Are you doing Fiona? And like I said, that's why I woke up at 5 a.m. and started working, was because I was like, I feel like I should have done this yesterday. And as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to put it on. I already have a long list of people interested in purchasing this. So I don't think that the painting will be available for purchase, but I am planning on doing a print of it. And I think I'm going to do a print of Maria Jovanovic as well. And I'm going to also do a t-shirt because a bunch of people have asked for t-shirts. So I'll be doing that and hopefully have that available by later this afternoon. As soon as I'm done with this, I send the JPEG to the wonderful people I work with, and they put it on a handful of the products that we have available to us with our vendor. So our vendors, we have multiple vendors who work with us. Hang on, I'm looking for the comments. Okay. As I said, always ask questions. Otherwise, I'll tell you about the dreams I've been having. I've been having weird dreams. Last night's dream was pretty indistinct except for one thing. I was in this very nondescript landscape. I don't know where it was. It wasn't familiar to me. And I was with two other people. They were having an argument, and I was pretty much ignoring them because they were just being annoying. And I got bit by a snake in my dream, and it was attached to my ankle, and it wouldn't let go. And I was calling out to these two people I was with, like, dudes, come help me. And they were guys, of course. I'm like, please, give me a hand. I got a snake here attached to my ankle. And they were so busy arguing that they weren't helping me, and it was very scary. And I woke up, and I was, like, scared to get out of bed because I was like, oh, my God, what if there's a snake? So that was where I was. That was my dream. Oh, no sound for you? Can anyone else hear me? I'm not a lefty, Derek. It's a thing. Can you hear me? Crap. Hang on, let me see. Can you hear me? Hang on. Can anyone hear me? I'm asking because someone says that they can't hear me. Oh, thank you. All right. Never mind. Let me put you back down here. As long as somebody can hear me. If you can't hear me, then maybe you have your sound off. Hang on. There we go. And I have to get it reset. Sorry about that. It looks like, and there we go. Try and get you reset a little bit. Okay. Yeah, especially since I want to make sure that people could hear me since I was giving my fascinating dream analysis. So if anybody wants to psychoanalyze my dreams, since no one's asking me questions, I'll tell you all about my dreams. Okay, thank you. So did everybody see the actual testimony yesterday? Because like I said, I didn't see it. I've only seen a few clips from it. And I don't know why it is. I thought Derek said, oh, you're a lefty. I'm not a lefty. I am a righty. And I don't know why the camera, maybe it's because I'm using the front-facing function on the camera that it flips this, but this is basically backwards. And I don't know why that is, and I'm not the most technically proficient person. Everything I do is sort of a little bit, in terms of technology, is sort of just what I cobble together from my bare bones understanding of how technology works. So I am not a lefty. I am a righty. I think the story goes that I was actually born able to use both hands, and my parents just gave me stuff in my right hand, and I adapted to that pretty easily. So I was probably a little bit more ambidextrous than anything else. The theory that you're every person in your dream. So I was both being bit by the snake and I was the snake, Susie, because that's an interesting idea. Or maybe it was that I was the two guys who were not helping me as well as being bitten by the snake. Interesting concept. And then I'll tell you the other dream I had. This was actually 2 days ago. I dreamt, it was really weird. It was in this building, and the building, I'm mixing colors when you can't see me. The building I was in was, shaped like a circle, like a donut circle. And President Obama was there with me, which was it's always nice to have a dream with President Obama. It's so reassuring to have him in your dreams. And he said, oh my God, I need your help. We have to set the world, get the world back on the correct, setting, kind of. I don't know exactly how he phrased it. But it was basically on this thing like we're on the wrong timeline because what's happening now is just beyond insane in our world. And then, this sort of wrong timeline theory, which is something that makes sense to me because nothing else makes sense, right? So in this dream, President Obama's like, we can reset the timeline if we rotate this building that we're in a few degrees back. And all we have to do that is get all the people who are in this building, and this is a good metaphor, by the way, to all push together in the right direction, and we can just move the needle enough to get us back on the right timeline. So he said, I need your help getting people lined up. And all around this circular building, there were these little kind of things places you could kind of push at. So I was going around the building with a group of people trying to get them lined up so that we could all push together to get the world back on the right track. And then we're just about ready to start doing it, and these zombies show up so that we have to fight the zombies at the same time that we're trying to get the world back on track. So, talk about a metaphor for the world we live in. I thought that was pretty profound. Anyways, all right, I think I might be done with this brush. So I'll give you a little... when I was in one of my art teachers, I can't remember which one, once said, when you're painting something, pick your brush that you think you're going to use and then go up a size in brushes. So you can see each brush is a different size, different tools for different stuff. And that was this person's theory. Now, I don't actually necessarily always subscribe to that. However, I do think, especially with these fast paintings, it's important not to get too stuck on details. And so I use a small brush for the mouth, the nose, and the eyes, of course. And then I go to a fatter brush. So you can see here's the difference in the brush sizes, detailed brush. These are small paintings too, so I'm not going to be using a ginormous brush on any of these things. I do like a nice big brush, but none of these paintings are done with big brushes, really. This is about as big as I go. Another share. And those are the two dreams I've had lately. Anyone have any good dreams that they've had, or is it just me? Oh, I also dreamt of my dog who passed away this spring, and that was a totally different dream, but it was nice to see her in my dreams. I've always been a vivid dreamer. When I lived in Hong Kong, the girl I shared my office with, Jennifer Ding, she and I would have coffee every morning, and we'd talk about our dreams and try and analyze them. And I kept a logbook on my dreams, and I tried to really figure them out. But I've gotten to the point where by and large, sometimes, like I said, the Obama dream was very much a dream I can kind of see where it's coming from. But by and large, I think dreams are just, I don't know, whatever kind of garbage is floating around in your brain, and I think I have a lot of garbage floating around in my brain, so... Someone's asking me how long an average a painting takes me to paint. Different paintings, different things. If you include time to research photographs and find, so the process basically starts, so somebody gets into my radar that they might need a painting. Fiona Hill, I sort of started thinking about her yesterday morning when I started hearing about her opening statements and how powerful she was. And like I said, I had family stuff and I couldn't work on the painting at all yesterday. But then last night, by last night, I already knew that I was painting her today because when I told you guys I was going to paint her today. And two, it's important to paint her, and you want to paint the person in your news cycle if at all possible. So I started researching photographs, and I watched a few video clips of her testimony yesterday. I printed out a couple reference photos to have so that I wasn't, painting 100% blind. And that's what I did last night. And, the research portion of the painting can take anywhere from, I don't know, a couple hours. Sometimes takes less time, and I can't even tell you. Some people are harder to find photos that you think would be good reference photos. So, it depends a little bit on how long it takes you to find enough reference materials, because you don't want to work on just one reference material, because that would not be accurate. It would not be appropriate, because then I'd just be copying someone's photograph. So I don't do that. I try and find a bunch of photographs that show different characteristics, different, aspects of a person's look. And then I have, a bunch of photographs that I printed out, and that's sort of the preliminary background research aspect of this. And that probably takes anywhere from an hour to as much as 3 hours, depending on the person and all these good things. Then once I start painting, so then I do a very preliminary sketch, which is basically I just be like, okay, the eyes are here, the nose is here, the mouth is here, her face shape. It's really rudimentary. I'll show you a picture of one day. I think I've shown pictures in the past, but I'll find one and I'll post it at some point. I don't like them. They're very the line. It's hard to photograph them because the actual lines are fairly faint. And I don't use a graphite pencil when I draw them, the preliminary drawing, because graphite, when I'm talking like something like this, if you do a graphite, here, I'll show you. I'm going to give you a little demonstration. So that's graphite, right? And then I want to say put a nice bright yellow over it. I don't know if this will work because this is paper and you're not supposed to use paper. But then like the graphite pulls up into, see how it's showing? Like, see how this dark color it's graying out my color. And I really hate when color gets grayed out. So I don't do my preliminary drawing in graphite. I use either a light yellow or a light orange pencil. And that's sort of where I do my preliminary drawing. And this is, by the way, if anyone's joining me in the middle, this is my very long description of how long it takes to do this. So the preliminary drawing takes literally 2 minutes. It's really, really rudimentary. And then I do that, then I kind of go over the preliminary drawing with a very thin oil paint drawing, which is just one color of oil paint thinned with turpentine just to reinforce the lines that I like and to erase the lines I don't like. Say something's a little bit off. Like, okay, you can see this little line here. That's a little bit of the blue line from the drawing my underdrawing, and I didn't like it. So when I reiterated the preliminary drawing, I did a second line that was a little bit less. I'm going to have to cover that up. It's starting to annoy the heck out of me. So I covered it up like that, see? And actually my preliminary drawing on this one was actually with a blue pen instead of a pencil, instead of my typical yellow or orange, because I couldn't find my yellow or orange pencils earlier today. I don't know why. It was 5 a.m. Hey, give me a break. And I'm just thinking what I'm doing right now. She looks a little tired. I think she's not quite as tired as that. It's interesting. She's got like a very stern face, but she's also pretty, but not in in a very striking, very strong way. So she's not a soft pretty, but her face is actually very smooth in a lot of ways. I don't know. She presents interesting challenges in terms of painting her portrait. So, okay, now I've done my preliminary sketching, and like I said, that takes very few minutes. And then I do the quick wash of color that I was telling you about. That's my first step. I try and do that as fast as possible. The reason I go fast is because I don't want to think about what I'm doing. I want to kind of rely on muscle memory and instinct and not get caught up on the details. So I do that section very fast. That's probably anywhere from half an hour to an hour that I spend on the preliminary drawing, which is again done with thinned out oil paints with turpentine. And then after that, I do this level, which is when I kind of build up the paint. Hopefully there aren't too many errors to correct at this point in terms of placement, because that can really mess up stuff. Honestly, if there's if I find a major problem with how I've drawn her at this point, I'd almost be inclined to restart, because you sometimes can't. You can always save a painting. It's sort of like, do you always want to? Because it'll always be a little bit belabored, the work. So in total, a painting like this could take anywhere, including research time to, kind of study the way the person looks. I would say anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. That's what I'm going to say. That's my long answer. And when I was trained to paint, and this is one thing that I find very frustrating. When I was trained to paint, I was always trained to paint standing up. And I'm painting this lying down. So sometimes I just hold the paint up like this so that I can get a different perspective, because there's an angle when you sit and paint. And that's actually why the preliminary drawing is really important, because it keeps me from, otherwise I would have a warped perspective on all of this stuff. So the preliminary drawing is essential for making sure, and I do the preliminary drawing without having it lying down. The reason I paint lying down is these small paintings I find difficult to do on an easel. So that's why I do something like this, lying flat down. And so it's Friday. I hope everyone has good plans for the weekend. Oh, I need more white paint. Anyone doing anything good for the weekend? I think some of you watched this without the sound on intentionally. So I'm going to, as I said, this painting already has I think 4 or 5 people on the wait list to purchase it. So it's not going to be available for purchase. I'm pretty sure that the first person's going to buy it, and if not her, the second person's going to buy it. So I am making this available as a print. I'm going to also add a Maria Jovanovic print. I think I'm going to do a t-shirt of her too, because I saw people asking for a t-shirt. A lot of people asking for a t-shirt. I'd love to do, how I do these grids with, multiple faces on them. I'd love to do an impeachment grid. It wouldn't be only Shiro's though, because, I kind of feel like Adam Schiff belongs on it. I kind of feel like my own congressman belongs on it, but I'm not sure if I'm biased. Obviously, Fiona and Maria. I don't know. We talked about it earlier, and I just don't know if it's, or at least I talked about it on my Facebook page a few days ago. And it seemed like you could either basically put the entirety of the Democratic Party on the impeachment grid, or you could limit to people who were actually involved in the impeachment hearings. It's a little tricky. I'm not quite sure. But I'd kind of love to do something, maybe a mug with Maria and Fiona on them, or I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Impeachment grid. Yes, yeah, I know, but who goes? I also, if I do an impeachment grid, that means I have to paint more men. And I'm not putting Sondland on the impeachment grid, by the way. I'm sorry. I kind of thought he gave very damning testimony, and I think it's helpful, but I also think he's a bit of a prick. Pardon my language. So I don't know that he deserves to be on an impeachment grid. I don't actually know what his motivation was for anything that he did. Her forehead looks too near. You know, see, like this is why I'm like putting her up like this so I can see, because her looks too pointy at the top, and I think that that's actually the hair, and maybe, again, it's that perspective thing when you paint lying flat as opposed to on an easel. So, and I know people have asked this, I actually spin my paintings around a lot when I paint them. It's partially to keep my wrist from becoming covered in paint, and it's also to prevent smearing of paint. And one thing that's interesting is that's why I always kind of, when I work on a painting, I always kind of start from left to right, because I am right-handed. So if I go like this and then I go like this, the paint's dry on this side. But if I started here and then went there, then my hand would smush paint. And that's not a good thing. So I do work from left to right when I paint, and also from the center of the paint outwards, so that, and from the top to the bottom. So there's sort of like a hierarchy of how maybe she's not green, maybe it's blue. Sorry, I'm talking to myself because you see the little highlights, and I don't know that I do a lot of contrasting color, and I was going with a bright kind of green, but now I'm looking at her, I think she's a blue. And so I'm going to try and, she needs little pops of, not pops of color, but it's how I do my edges. It's got a little bit too much. I clean my brush off in Turp, and now it's a little bit juicier. It's too liquidy. You can see that, almost runny. But like when I do my edges, I like to have a color that's probably not the natural color that occurs there. It's actually, I've talked about it before. Somebody the other day said that my work reminded them of, like, I had some Wayne Thiebaud influence, and I agreed that I actually have studied Wayne Thiebaud's color theories and find his work to be very inspirational, and I agree with a lot of his color theory work. So a lot of what you see me doing with these colors is because of that. But by putting these little spots of, let's call them non-naturally occurring colors, it causes the more natural colors to have a little bit more oomph or personality. There's a little bit right here. I forgot the name of that divot right above your lip. There's a name for it. I want to put a little bit of blue there. Yeah, she does have a very angular jawline, and then that she's got a very weird bow to the top of her lip. So I really wanted to capture that because that was so much who she is. Let me think. Actually has a little bit more. So see, that's that small paintbrush. And it looked like to me like she was wearing a very pretty shade of lipstick when she was testifying. Which I thought was interesting because she's not the sort of person who wears, it doesn't look like a person who wears a lot of makeup, but I did think she was wearing some makeup during her testimony, which I thought was, especially I think she wore lipstick and not much else. Thank you, Bettina. Nice to see you here. And I guess everybody's like, oh my God, I have to work now instead of watching impeachment hearings because there's no impeachment hearings today. She had some blush on it first. Okay. Thank you, Cynthia. By the way, if anyone thinks it's shallow to talk about women wearing makeup when they're on TV, as somebody who films myself more than I would actually personally prefer to film myself, wearing a little makeup when you're on TV is, I think, actually something more men should do, frankly, because you look washed out and tired, and people are like, especially white people, okay? So if I don't wear a little bit of makeup, I look pretty tired when I'm taking a picture or doing a video. I'm not wearing makeup today, so if you see the opening of this video, I look a little tired probably. But I am a little tired. So I'll probably turn this off soon so I can do the finishing touches. So any other questions, I will go back and see if I've missed questions. I think I've missed some questions while I've been working. She does have a very interesting mouth. Kind of want to do, it's actually nice because by having distinct features like her interesting, it's actually her top lip that's interesting. Her bottom lip's fairly standard. And that jawline. She also has very intense eyes. I like her eyes a lot. Oh, I still need to do her eyebrows. Oh, and then like the final part of this is after I finish it, I usually put it, go to take a picture of it, and I always find things I have to change once I'm looking at it through that lens. So that's the most annoying part of the whole thing, is when you spend time tweaking all the little tweaks. All right, so, sorry. Trying to decide if I want to bring this line up a little bit or if I want to bring the jaw down a little bit. I can't quite. Maybe I'll split the difference. So if I bring this up a little tiny bit, maybe like that, and then a little bit of, now blue, the opposite color of blue is orange, so I'm going to make this color a little orangey so that it'll vibrate a little bit extra. This is going to be hard because I don't have a lot of room for my hand here, so see, like, we'll just put a little bit right there. Oh, I like that, see? Put a little bit of that blush on that Cynthia told me was there. She's also got that fair complexion where she gets color high on her cheekbones. That's natural color, though, I think. She's also, I think, 54, same age as Kamala Harris. So she actually looks pretty good, I think. Her skin's very nice. Not that that matters at all. I'm just like making an observation. When you paint people, you think about these things. And see, here's the thing is, I'm getting to the point, I can tell I'm doing it, starting to get a little bit, I think what my teacher would have called it was noodly, where I'm just sort of like getting a little just too hung up on like little kind of details and stuff. So I am probably going to turn off the recording. I will save this and put it on YouTube, and then, anybody who wants to see it there, watch it there, and I'll save it on Facebook Live. Feel free to share it, of course. It's kind of, I don't know how, one day I have to find some good video editing skills and learn how to make this so I can make a little 2-minute video of this as opposed to, and maybe of the whole entire process. Hang on. All right. Or I just hire somebody to do it for me. That's what I really want to do. I don't want to do it myself. All I want to do is paint. I really don't want to do any of the other stuff that's involved in running a business. Okay, so I'll check back and see if there's any comments on this video thread. If anyone has any questions, please leave them on the comment section and I'll get back to them. Look for this painting to be available in print form later this afternoon, also a t-shirt, and I will talk to you all later. Have a great day and have a good weekend. Bye. Oops, I almost on the battery. Oh, hang on.